and he was part of the One's roster at mid-season Brawl due to the fact that the actual ranged assassin player couldn't make it. I think it was Lucky who had visa issues back in the day. So Andre, performing pretty well at the mid-season Brawl. Unfortunately not well enough because the One couldn't make it past the groups phase. Like most Chinese teams these days, they don't seem to be doing too well in the international stage. For now, we're going to enter our first draft of this best of 5. For those of you who are wondering, where's Tetcher? Why is Kendrick doing this all by himself? I want Tetcher. It's basically him struggling with his internet a little bit, and hopefully we're going to have him back as soon as possible. In the meantime, I'm going to take over all by myself, and I'm going to try to provide you with as much knowledge, detail, and entertainment as I possibly can. Towers of Doom, as you can see here, our first map, which is pretty interesting. Normally not a map that we're used to seeing a lot in China. Allow me to double check on the quality of this screen feed. Yes, it is on the highest settings that I can provide. Yeah, it's not really a battleground that we're used to seeing a lot in China. However, when we do see those games, it's pretty cool normally to watch them because there's many comeback mechanisms. You can't normally lose the game too early, so there's always room for catching up. And as you guys can see here, we're actually fighting on the Tyrande patch. Pretty cool to see that, in my opinion. Mephisto, of course, hasn't been unlocked yet for the teams to play. He's still in the chamber, down in the pits, waiting to be released. But Tyrande, of course, and her rework are live, are pickable, and just like in the other regions, we've seen it on the weekend, basically, guys, in Europe, in Korea, in NA. Tyrande has really shaken things up quite a bit, hasn't she? She's probably stronger than ever before as a solo support. She has received a couple of tweaks and changes, most importantly to her healing abilities. She now has the revamped Shadow Stalk, which is really cool as well. So not only will she provide healing to all the allies affected by it, but also turn them invisible for a short period of time. Now, really solid frontline coming out from KT already. The Diablo Irel, that's going to be pretty hard to kill. As if Diablo wasn't tanky enough already by himself, and it's actually amazing to see him make it through. Irel is going to be able to jump on the Demon Lord and provide him with 35 additional armor, making him even tougher to crack. The response by TeamNut so far has been Raynor and Blaze. We have seen this, struggle, this duel between Blaze and Irel quite a bit lately, because these two are labeled as the most impactful offlaners, solo laners, whatever you want to call them. And there has been a little bit of debate amongst pro players as well in recent discussion on social media, for example. Several European players and NA players have, shared their opinion on the relatively stale solo laner, offlaner meta. So, who knows? Who knows what we're going to see? We were also teased by Blizzard themselves about an upcoming balanced patch, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see some, some screws being turned and twisted in that regard as well. Anubarak making it through as well. Now, Anubarak is an interesting warrior to talk about right now. Sometimes, we saw it yesterday, for example, when Ballistics was facing Gen G, certain teams even consider him to be first pick material right now. It kind of backfired for Ballistics, unfortunately. And also in this matchup, I think Anubarak is a little bit risky right now. Not only do we have strong hitting auto attackers like Cassia and Thrall, but also Diablo in particular, on a map where there's a lot of terrain, a lot of walls, a lot of choke points, can really ruin the Beetle's life by smashing him against the wall and then allowing his teammates to focus him down, because Anubarak, although he's pretty good in terms of engaging and lockdown, is still very squishy to auto attacks in particular. So, what we're going to see here, the Li Ming taken away. Actually, I thought that maybe KT would have chosen her to counter the Cocoon. Something that we've seen in China multiple times up to this point with Anubarak was a paired Maiev, and then you would sometimes go for the containment disc plus the Cocoon. You could shut down two people at the same time in a team fight, which is pretty nuts, man. Pretty strong. For now, though, both teams with rather standard drafts. We're not seeing anything out of the ordinary right off the get-go. But that is just normal when there's so much on the line, Not only your honor that needs to be defended, which is very important in China in particular, But also, of course, advancing, man. Advancing, leaving those crucible spots. You can really see Mercy here gathering some strength, focusing. This is where it all comes down to. This is where it all matters. All those league play performances, sure, they mattered as well. They were important as well, but they're not as important as this one. And KT, they're a team that thrives in momentum. It could be their saving grace. It can be their magical elixir, but it can also be their downfall. If they lose games, Tetra and I elaborated a lot on that in the past, they seem to lose momentum, they seem to break down, and they seem to be unable to recover from it. And oftentimes, if they lose the first game, they'll just go down 0-2. So in a best of 5, where you have more chances to recover, you need to have that mental fortitude. And KT, not always known to have that, with members like Timeless, very emotional, can also sometimes be very controversial. We've seen that in the past when he used to be part of RPG. Not always best friends with all the team members in there as well. And I think Tetra might be back. We're going to give him a cheeky call. Tetra, are you with us?
It's been stable for more than 30 seconds, which is more than usual. So I hope so. We'll find out.
Pretty awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the two teams. TeamNut on the left-hand side, facing KT in the reds. Kudos top on the right-hand side. We're going to Towers of Doom, and it's a pretty nice map to start things with, in my opinion. There's not really a lot of snowball to be had. There's not really a lot of, cheesing to be had. It's going to be a lot of team fighting. And with both teams gearing up, I want to talk a little bit about the Anubarak. Currently going for that Regeneration Master. I think that's a trend we've seen from most Anubarak players these days. Magic armor, spell armor is still good, but you really want to have that additional beefiness with that HP value.
Yeah, no, this hasn't worked.
Oh, no. All right, you know what, Tetra? Just take your time. I'll carry us through the first game, and maybe you're going to be back for game number 2.
I'm so sorry, dude.
Don't worry about it. I know it's not you. It's a greater force, and I'm pretty sure chat is rallying and channeling their energy as much as I am already.
All right, speak to you in a bit.
All right, talk to you in a bit, bro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what happened up to this point. Not really a whole lot. We see a standard Rainer build, although especially in China, I feel like a lot of Rainers still stick to that Exterminator at level 1, which will provide your team with stronger wave clear, faster rotations, and of course more PvE damage. But not this time. Let's actually count these slowing sources here. Blaze of course provides awesome slows himself. Anubarak has stuns and a slow after burrow charge, and even the Stukov of course can provide additional slowing. So I think Ace in the hole is definitely a talent to be worth picking here. The other side, we see KT with Diablo starting off with a soul shield here, interesting enough. Probably against Li Ming, probably to provide Timeless with that extra amount of tankiness. Speaking of tankiness there, the soul shield can save him from that pickle. He was trapped and caught by 3 members at the same time, CC'd by Anubarak as well. And unfortunately, Timeless will have to say goodbye for now. First blood going over to KT. Looks like Bad is not done escaping just yet. Tries to dodge the Li Ming combo, gets silenced here for a short period of time, but makes it out to safety just in time. Meanwhile, we saw Lotus duking it off here against Mercy on the Rainer. That is an interesting constellation here. Oftentimes people think that Cassia is a perfect counter to that Rainer. But simply picking Cassia just because there is a Rainer on the enemy side always doesn't cut it. Like, doesn't always cut it. You need to take many things into account when you play the Cassia. Her short attack range, which oftentimes forces her to overextend. And then, of course, the enemy team also has ability damage. So it's not just the Rainer you sometimes need to think about, but also other heroes that counter you. For now, though, I think the Cassia pick remains pretty fine. In China, I haven't really seen Cassia anywhere outside of China, to be exact. At least not on that frequent basis. Especially teams like BTG, NCE as well. They love to pick that Cassia. RPG as well. And speaking of Cassia, Lotus going in very deep here. Bad. Needs to be careful. Gets stunned. Doesn't get focused down here up to this point. The silence not connecting up to this. 3 altars now activated. A little bit of a lead for TeamNut, actually, which is very surprising to see. Keep in mind, guys, TeamNut coming into this playoffs as the biggest underdog you could imagine. Nice turnaround and stun onto Nightmare. Lotus, though, look at his aggressive positioning. He realizes that Rainer, he can't touch me. As long as we take care of a Tui and maybe even Li Ming there as well, he will reign supreme on the battlefield. Look at Dia, super cheeky invade there. Doesn't even help his teammates down at the bottom. All he wants to do right now is buy a little bit of extra time, keep those guys occupied at the altar, and wait for reinforcements. And reinforcements have arrived. Good stuff there. Hero was not able to buy enough time for her teammates. Timeless, though, that is the aggressive Timeless. Like, those are the aggressive plays that we used to seeing from Timeless. And he really needs to calm his horses sometimes. It can oftentimes be their biggest boon, KT, when Timeless has a good day. But it can also be their downfall if he's overreacting and basically being too overzealous. So, mercenaries are now being activated by both sides. 36 to 32, not really the largest of leads here for KT, but a lead nonetheless. Rainer, by the way, switching things up here a little bit, going for that lifesteal at level 4. Not choosing to go either fight or flight or the behemoth armor, which is normally what we're used to seeing. Though that's a pretty interesting change. So whenever his pepper gets activated, guys, he absorbs, he leeches a little bit of life, 3% of his maximum health. So the more health he has, the more value he's going to get from the sustaining rounds. Pretty interesting. At level 7, nothing too special. We still see unstable compound. And when there's a lack of slowing sources in your team, you're going to have to go for that talent.
Speaking of sustaining,
Are you fully restored?
I have been for a minute or so now, while in the call as well, so maybe? I don't know. We're going to try anyway, as they appear to dive onto Lotus, but Diablo, the immediate turnaround, nightmare. Able to pull out. No kills there.
No kills up to this point. Tetra, I'm going to double check my latency here, so we make sure we're on the same page. It's still 7.2, 7.3.
I think I was trying to like match it up while you were talking. 7.3.
Beautiful. All right. So the good thing is, of course, Tetra is back, and another good piece of news here is, of course, that nothing major has happened. Both teams fighting each other here at level 8. Thrall, by the way, not going Nightmare for the Crash Lightning. Hold that thought. Nightmare in trouble. Gets the anti-healing. Gets popped here immediately. Kiara's not done chasing yet on the Blaze. Knocks him back to safety, potentially. Yeah, that was a little bit of a misplay.
Good dash away by Dia, though. Stays away. Timeless eating a lot of tower hits, and Li Ming gets the reset as Malthael. Also, Mercy, also does some decent damage as Malthael wraps around from the side, looking for his opportunity. He'll try to channel, but has to be cautious of that Lightning Fury from Lotus.
Both teams currently without their main tank, although Anubarak is going to be at their team sides a little faster. He died sooner than Diablo. But can they buy enough time for Diablo? I think they can. Blaze is about to feel the hammer of Yrel. She, in return, needs to be careful herself. Level 10 is not here yet. She doesn't have the protection available. The potion does miss. Ooh. Kiara, run away!
Kiara stays alive, and like I said, this has bought enough time for Diablo, who's on the way. A beautiful blind by Lotus, but he still goes down, giving the reset over to Li Ming. They turn around onto Bad. Quick pickup, well, slow pickup onto Bad. Is it a pickup? Is pickup? What pickup? Why pickup? As finally they take down Thrall.
Oh my goodness, that was such a sticky situation for KT to find themselves in. When you play against a Li Ming, and one of your members just barely escapes, you need to be on the lookout, because that member, if it falls down, will provide a cooldown reset, and from there on you could sometimes really snowball out of control in the team fight if that Li Ming gets kill after kill after kill. So as such, the altar was secured by TeamNut, who are looking very formidable actually in this game. Surprisingly formidable, I might want to say. And now we see the Cocoon, of course, online, the Bunker, the Banshee providing extra solo target damage, but also level 10 has arrived for KT, who are trying to match their opponents with their own heroic abilities. We see pretty good stuff coming in here from Timeless. Trying to go in. Did go for the Apocalypse, by the way, not for the Lightning Breath.
Ooh. The classic Earthquake Apocalypse combo. We haven't seen it too often, but it used to be an absolute staple. The triple combo back in the day, pre-Rainer rework, when there was a slight bug with Rainer, used to be the Earthquake Apocalypse Hyperion, as we see a big amount of damage being dropped onto Stukov, who gets absolutely annihilated.
Stukov out of position there. You can't afford to get caught by an Apocalypse, by the follow-up CC as well. Although Stukov is a relatively long-range support, especially if you consider his the range of his abilities, the healing ability, the lurking arm. Sometimes members go in a little bit too deep. They're trying to get maybe that one auto attack in, trying to maybe help allies in a pickle. So as a general rule of thumb, I think if you're a support player, always keep your safe cells first and then take care of others, because if you end up dying without a support, it is so hard to actually win a team fight.
Exactly. Like if you have the choice of peeling for someone, the support's usually the better option because the support can keep everyone else alive, whereas an assassin, maybe not so much. For now though, Nightmare hovering around, waiting for his opportunity to strike. Will interrupt TWT, or at least Dia will from above. Nice move, Dia. Once again, need to be careful though. This is a Malevolence build Diablo by Timeless, which he's already used to just decimate Anubarax previously. But Nightmare staying a little bit further back than the one we saw previously. He's being a lot more cautious about this, waiting for his opportunity to strike as opposed to being that aggressive frontliner that we usually see from Anubarax.
Pretty cool to see how Kiaro keeps jumping onto Timeless there as well to provide him with that 35 armor bonus. However, doing so now really forced them back quite a bit. Timeless himself actually had to use the healing fountain, if I saw that correctly, and without, you know, any frontliner, with Kiaro jumping and following after Timeless all the time, Timeless being himself forced back to take the healing fountain, there was not really anything they could do to prevent this altar from being capped by their opponents. So TeamNut now, they equalized the score 28-28. Level-wise, they still have a little bit of an experience lead, but it is shrinking. KT is getting, you know, into the groove here a little bit more. 4 kills to 4 kills as well. What an amazing start to this series, by the way. And we mentioned about, you know, we mentioned the fact that on paper, KT seems to be the slight favorite, but TeamNut, especially with how much they've improved as of late, they can never be counted out.
Absolutely, you can never count out TeamNut, as they do just take games when you least expect them. Now they're pulling back. Timeless going to eat a tower shot or two. And this seems to be the strategy of TeamNut. To make a historical reference here, very Viet Cong style, where they basically seem to go in, take an objective, and then back out. It's all very guerrilla tactics, very hit and run style of play here.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the way you need to go. If you have so much hard CC, if you have so much lockdown there, look at that Soul Shield absorbing so much damage, but even though best of Soul Shields won't be able to keep Timeless alive here, however, they took a little bit of damage. Mercy in trouble. Is it the damage going to be enough? Yes, it is.
The Earthquake comes out. I'm quite surprised Timeless didn't just Apocalypse from base there as he revived. Here comes the bunker. It's a 1-for-1 currently, but Diablo is already back. Dia uses the bunker and is able to dash away, but 10 seconds away for the objective. And that's still going to be 7 seconds until Raider, with Diablo already returning soulless.
Tetcher, the question is, how aggressive does KT want to play this? They can invade, they can stall it out a little bit here, but keep in mind they now have a mini Dibbles in their ranks, right? Diablo comes back with almost 0 souls here. But meanwhile, we see Li Ming going ham onto Lotus, who doesn't have any magical armor, but Lotus survives for now, thanks to strong potion placements by TWT.
A fantastic massive shove, though, allowed them to buy some time. Good interrupt by Dia. This has given time for Raider to return. It's now a full 5 versus 5 again. Apocalypse still available, but so is Cocoon. A massive shove just came off cooldown. And with that, we're actually going to see KT getting driven back to the center point. They're away from the altar now. And the question is, can they keep this delay up? You can see Kiara, he was thinking about the jump over, decides against it.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't fully commit to it, KT, that is, because they were driven too far back. The enemies had too good of a position there already, and they're not really in a situation where they need to play, you know, super risky, where they have to really risk things and commit to, like, reckless engages, because they're basically tied over. That needs to be careful. Takes the wave of force here to stall the movement a little bit. The Cocoon goes onto the support, but I think Nightmare was a little bit too over-eager there because his teammates couldn't follow his engage. That's oftentimes a little bit of a problem. Speaking of people being super far in, Timeless making a play onto Stukov. Can't lock down the kill yet, though. The lightnings are still bouncing.
Nightmare, he's dropping very low. Stays alive thanks to the Stukov silence, as you see Li Ming dancing in and out. Make sure that she's out of the bunker when she gets that reset so she can get maximum effectiveness. But now Dia is in trouble. Cassia comes in. Good stay on and listen, but the reset is still acquired. Blaze goes down and counter though, making it a 1-for-1. Good teleport away by Malthael, keeping himself alive. The Arcade Orb lands.
That was a lot of damage by Mercy here. The player, the key player that was shown to you during the overlay segment here of that best of 5, makes really a statement here to say, you know what, you can't afford to play that recklessly against me. Cassia, you think you got me covered and countered? Well, I'm going to show you what Jimmy's all about these days. I'm going to show you why Reynor is considered to be one of the top tier assassins right now. Look at the damage here coming onto Timeless. Now, I think that is where they are about to kill the Blaze. Turnaround here happening in a bit. Anti-healing by Stukov, so good, the Emerald Cube. Timeless going in with that CC chain on lockdown. Dies in the process though, but a huge Decker Kane ulti here coming through.
And you can see there the beautiful Arcane Orb coming out to snipe on the way out with the distraction coming in there. Whereas Cassia was looking for the second kill, staying just a little bit too long as we see that shot trade-off.
Yep, it stays with equal score, 20-20. The game couldn't be any closer. However, 16 just arrived for KT, and this is the time where Nightmare chooses to engage already. Get the support out of the Cocoon, save Diablo some way, somehow. Stukov is there as well.
Stay a while is so clutch. TWT released for the Cocoon.
Unbelievable.
Lotus able to save Timeless by the skin of his demonic horns. As we see Mercy moving on to try and channel the point, while Nightmare is trying to delay. In comes Kiaru. Can they body him? No, Mercy just cancels it.
Keep in mind, Kiaru doesn't have the Ardent Defender. It still needs 5 seconds, so they need to choose their engagement very carefully here. The silence is good, still affects people. The Earthquake is coming through, though.
Dia goes down. Ardent Defender is on the board. Nightmare is getting hit with everything right now. Does not have Burrow Charge back off cooldown. Will have it soon, but not soon enough.
And this is exactly the burst damage that we were talking about earlier, Tetcher. When you have the crowd control available, when you track down Anubarak's Burrow Charge cooldown, and you know that he can't escape out of a pickle situation here, then you burst him down. Timeless, although he tends to play very aggressively, sometimes over-aggressively, he knows when to lock down the Anubarak here, and he did it in great fashion here. They popped the Beetle, and from there on, without a front line, Blaze had died earlier, couldn't even use the bunker. That was just where the team had to retreat. TeamNut currently on the retreat. They need to be careful not to lose any more team members right now.
Here comes the move up. KT just looking to clear the lanes. Maybe put some pressure onto this top mid lane rotation. This allows them to react to a boss if they ever catch anyone of TeamNut out of position. It's a nice little cheeky power play. Usually you will see teams either try to do this, control this double rotation, or just control the bot lane. As KT already have killed bot lane, but there's no mercs available, it's giving them a little less value to risk getting caught out. So this double lane secure and this boss secure is a little bit more safe value for them instead of standing around waiting to get Cocoon engaged.
Exactly. The Cocoon is a big factor. Could be used defensively there as well. Timeless, I'm not sure. Okay. I guess Timeless was bluffing. Yeah. I think he was actually bluffing, trying to pretend that there were more allies nearby. And, well, that bluff was successful in my opinion. He basically faked out the bunker now. Dia was a little bit too anxious, too nervous. Can't blame him, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's a minute cooldown, so it will be back very shortly. So that's not the worst thing in the world to just be able to blow that. And the fact is, there actually were several allies of Timeless around. As Timeless dies, and you can see that huge burst damage from Maleficent as we see a quick dodge away from the Apocalypse. That's a big cooldown to burn.
Yeah.
Dia, though, once again, finds himself isolated. He's near enough to a base that it doesn't matter, but he really wants to join his team, and right now, Yarel is being a problem for that. No bunker, remember, so they dive back.
Bunker still has a 10-second cooldown, as you said. Big Cocoon this time on Diablo. I think it's going to get popped relatively shortly here, so a lot of heroic abilities now being wasted in a little bit here. So here we go. Bunker's back. It's get popped immediately, and that should be a dead Blaze.
The huge damage. Down goes a Tui as well. Mercy, you are in the wrong neighborhood, friend. He gets demounted by the cube, and that is just going to be another kill. This is starting to snowball out of control in favor of KT. They're starting to pick up the kills. And Reynor, that entire fight was just pinging damage onto the backline of KT, and it was doing nothing. Decade Kane healing without the extra support of one of his teammates was easily able to keep Reynor at bay.
And of course, we cannot stress enough how much value the Ancient Blessings level 13 has. With that team composition that they chose, Thrall and Cassia, they benefit so much of that extra sustain, the extra auto attack damage. Huge benefit to the team right now, Decker Kane, with great heroic abilities, as we said, and of course, great utility as well. And I want to mention Timeless here again. The build that he chose is not the standard one, especially the level 4 and level 1. and level 7 are kind of out of the ordinary, but combine all these talents together and you're going to have yourselves a tanky and very lethal Diablo at the same time. Devastating Charge and Domination, the 13-16 talents can still be absolutely wrecking faces, especially on a map like Towers of Doom where there are so many walls to choose from.
And here we see Atui. He's just hovering around for the experience at the moment. None of them want to get Diablo engaged or anything like that. As we do see a moment of calm. Literally, as both teams are just waiting for the next objective, because for KT it could be lethal. Hellgate used, but doesn't get anything this time. Everyone able to back up, play it safe. In the meantime, though, Dia is not playing it safe, and that was probably going to result in his death. No, they don't follow him.
Yeah, they don't follow him. They realize, you know what, we don't have enough manpower to likely take him down, so why don't we just take the objective, take the mercenary camp, and be done with it? However, Timeless, he really wanted to make something happen here with that level 20 advantage. Are they going to find the Beetle? No. He has to use the Burrow Charge defensively, though. That is a cooldown they can now keep track of. And with that bottom bell tower still being in KT's possession, TeamNut is now with their backs against the wall. 2 altars go through, and they lose this first game. Okay,
Dia defends the first one. Bot 1 goes through. 5 shots onto the core. It's all about being able to force their way through this Earthquake and help Dia, because right now Dia is in no man's land all alone. Here comes the APOC. It's a full team fight. Looking up to Nightmare, who's able to dance away. It's the same one that does land, but Malthael in the backline is actually doing a fair amount of damage. Good focus onto Mercy, though. Quick knockback for the heal. That's fantastic. As the Cocoon is down onto Thrall in the backline. Can they capitalize on this? Malthael is so low. Timeless is going deep. He can't get it, though. But the rest of his team picks up a Tui. Malthael is looking for any... Oh, gets knocked in! He still escapes, though, with the blink. Last moment escape. But in the meantime,
Dia's back.
Tried for a sneaky channel. First interrupt by Dia. Someone else needs to get here and help Dia. Malthael tries to wrap around, but it's too late. There's the channel. And KT take game number 1.
They take game number 1 in pretty convincing fashion there at the end. The early game looked a little shaky. They had a couple of deaths that could have been avoided if they had played a little more carefully. But in the end, the result is all that matters. Timeless leading the charge there with an impeccable Diablo late game performance. Did miss a couple of apocalypses in that game, but everything is fair and square if you still end up coming out on top. And, you know, TeamNut, they really fought desperately